There is a peace key in that book. It takes some doing, but it's in there. These videos are about the key to peace. First, they are about individuals having peace. The side effect of that has a positive influence on those around them. You will not see this addressed in many of the videos. Why? Answer: there is a very pressing need that needs to be addressed before that kind of peace will become the norm. Let me warn you, I have been called a Jew hater. Now, that is a lie, and if you ever take the time to watch very many of these videos, you will see that. I have been called a liar for a fallacious reason. Most of us have been lied to all of our lives through the use of propaganda. That is in our history books, our religious commentaries, and especially in all the media. No one wants to believe they have been fooled, so they attack the truth as a way of dealing with either their ignorance and or embarrassment. I am pro-Christian and against the pervasive influence of the Talmud. Now, I have most of that downloaded and on my computer, and I can do searches in it. Now, that influence began even before the time of Christ and has been negatively affecting civilization for over 2,000 years. I do not go into that in depth in every video, but it affects most every article and presentation I do. It also tends to creep into many of the conversations I have, if I'm allowed to bring up that subject. Well, to get me back off, I have been called a Jew hater. Well, when that happens, it just hardens my resolve. Very little of Christianity, as we know it, is into promoting lasting peace. The kind of peace I am trying to get across is presented in both the Ten Commandments and Christ's Beatitudes. One of the main issues dealt with in these videos is that few Christians actually believe what Christ taught. He was calling those first-century religious Hebrews to obey the moral laws of Moses. For the most part, they had substituted them with their Talmudic traditions. Now, learned Jewish rabbis admit that Christ talked about the Talmud when he was talking about the traditions they had. Christ associated his teachings directly with his kingdom. It was at hand nearly 2,000 years ago. However, see if you can convince any Christian his in-heart kingdom is prophetically, scripturally based, then see if they will admit if any of its prophetical fulfillment are at all recorded in 1st and 2nd century history. Christians know very little about that history. They're looking for something to happen in the future. And if you have a Bible program on your computer, do a search in it on those two words, at hand. You'd be surprised at how many times that's mentioned. Now, the Christian community has almost completely rejected the thought that Christ set up his kingdom 2,000 years ago. And that's really causing us to have problems today. Christ told his followers the world would not see him anymore, but they would. This is very clearly stated by him in St. John chapter 14, In addition, no one can see his kingdom unless they are born of the Spirit. They also need to be born of the water and the Spirit. This is found in St. John chapter 3. In St. John chapter 4, he told that woman at the well that no one would be worshiping in Jerusalem or on that mountain in Samaria anymore, but would worship God in spirit, for God is a spirit. Well, the denial of this, in keeping with the warning in Revelation 22:18, has created calamity after calamity. Read that verse. It's a warning to us to never change the words of that book. And Revelation starts with the words "at hand" and ends with that same two words again, "at hand." Again, the results of this denial has effectively undermined both their peace and their positive moral influence on the world. This is why Christianity is being thought of as just another myth. Most Christians have consistently refused to believe he is presently ruling and reigning in his spiritual in-heart kingdom, as per Acts, the 2nd chapter. Christ sat down alongside of God, according to Peter in Acts 2. He had finished his work. He became the king of Israel, the true Israel, at that time. The destruction of the temple in Jerusalem visibly marked the end of that Mosaic age. Religious Torah-observant Hebrews and converts were present on the day of Pentecost from every nation under heaven. Let me repeat that. They were there. They had previously been living in other nations, but they showed up there and been living in Jerusalem for a while, and they were from every nation under heaven. Now that marked both the last days and the beginning of a new age. The present nation of Israel and continual war are visible portrayals of what has been produced by the pervasive and prominent unbelief present in the Zionistic, dispensationalistic Christian community. There's millions of them out there. They're affecting the world situation. Now that Talmudic-based Zionistic, dispensationalistic doctrine came on the scene in the mid-1800s. And the plans to destroy Christian-leaning Germany soon followed and was unknowingly supported by those following that doctrine. By the early 1900s, war plans were being set in place by wealthy Talmudic-influenced elitists for the complete destruction of both that nation and Christianity, and some of them thought that had been accomplished by the end of World War I. That failed, and as a result, there has since been continual war, but the goal has never changed, for they still believe Israel is to rule the world. And they have to bring the rest of us down under their thumb. That's the deal. That's their goal. Now, religion is not going to disappear. It is here to stay. Oh, people want to get rid of religion. I just read an article today where secular individuals believe there's no way that anyone really denies or does not believe in a God. That's out there in the educational system of our country. Now, you can either fight all those religions, them all, or work with the best there is out there, and that definitely will take a lot of effort. That's what old Thomas Jefferson was into. Now, I hope you will take the time and keep in mind that the fellow who uploaded them is a desperate old man who too was misled most of his life. I hope these videos help you. God bless.